Oh, there's
There,
okay. Sending in.
I just gotta move her. Oh, they gotta move both of them. Hey, Ray, they're under the attendee section. Can you move them to the panelists?
Trying to get in with the new link.
Yeah, can move them.
Okay. Dr. McGuire, Dr. Cunningham. Morning, Dr. McGuire. Good morning, Cindy. We're just waiting for a couple of other folks to log in before we get started here.
Yes, for those who have joined, I have started recording.
Aye.
People responded to me and said they want to get connected, so. Okay. Dr. McBride says, I'm trying to sign in, but it's not letting me. It says the password is wrong. I will keep trying. Maybe under, can we look at the attendees again? Make sure Tim's not underneath there.
If they log in as an attendee, can we just move him over?
Yes, they did the other two.
Let's have him do that. That doesn't require a password, does it?
There he is. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning. Sorry I had a hard time getting in.
No worries. I think everybody's had a couple of challenges, but we're getting there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we do have a quorum, don't we? Okay. Let's go ahead and get started, and then if other people join, then we'll welcome them to the meeting. Okay. Do a roll call.
Yep. Dr. Garza,
Here.
Miss Riaz, Dr. McBride,
Here,
Dr. Cunningham,
Here.
Bishop Hankerson, Ms. Bozeman,
Here.
Ms. McGuire.
I'm here.
Okay, you have a quorum.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. So before we get kicked off here, let's go ahead and review and approve the minutes from February 23, 2024. Those were sent around by Penny. So I'll just need a motion for approval.
so moved.
Thank you, Tim.
Dr. Garza.
I will second, yeah.
Oh, you're second. I'm sorry. Okay, Dr. Garza,
Yes.
Ms. Riaz, Dr. McBride,
Yes,
Dr. Cunningham,
Yes.
Ms. Bozeman,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire.
Yes, by the way, I'm actually a doctor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So one thing just to introduce one of our newest board members who wasn't able to attend last week, was out of town, Senia Bozeman. So Senia, welcome to the Justice Services Advisory Board. Do you want to say a couple words about yourself?
Well, thank you, certainly. And I apologize. I was in listen mode at the last meeting, so I wasn't able to speak. But I'm honored to serve on this board and spent a number of years in corporate and nonprofit business. Most recently retired from as president and CEO of the Community Action Agency of St. Louis County. I currently have a consulting business, but going to spend some time enjoying my retirement, also serving on important boards like this one. So I'm honored to be here and looking forward to rolling up my sleeves and working with the team.
Thank you so much and welcome to the board. I just got an email from Ms. Riaz too, who is saying incorrect password. So if we could help her get to the panelist meeting, that would be great. But we'll go ahead and continue on.
I had
Okay.
that problem too.
Okay.
Dr. Garzon, I joined through the public portal, and then I just went in as a visitor and
I
then
see.
typed in 1, 2, 3, 4. So I could send her a note to do that.
That'd be terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Sure.
Okay, so while we're working to get that corrected, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Director Best. He's going to give us some comments on his first 30 days observations.
So good morning, everyone. Again, I'll start off with the census at this time, similar to last time. With respect to the jail population as of today, we have a total of 1,140. That's 1,111 within our housing and 29 within our intake unit for a total of 1,140. With respect to pretrial services, as we talked about before, I wanted to give a holistic approach with all of what impacts justice services. So with pretrial services, we are at 321 persons under supervision with respect to pretrial. With respect to probation, we are 2,123, and that is as of March 20th of 2024. The pretrial number was as of March 21st of 2024. The GPS, those that are under active GPS, Global Positioning System, is 53, again, as of March 20th of 2024. The number of enrollees within our Choices program, 56 as of March 20th, 2024. And then those that are in our mental health court, we have about 52 as of March 20th of 2024. With respect to the first 30 days, it's been a lot of movement. It's been busy, that's for sure, with a lot of meetings, a lot of introductions, of folks within the facilities, outside the facilities. So it's been in various departments. So it's been great. A lot of movements and stuff. Conducted multiple facility tours. That helps me get a sense of the operations with not just within the jail, but also over at the probation office, over at the pretrial services office. Conducted those tours with both deputy directors as well as the superintendent majors and captains. I attended both the first and second shift. Haven't gotten on to the third shift yet, but definitely has found those tours very enlightening and informative. I'm proud that we've had last month, we had an art and poetry contest for Black History Month, and the staff, formalized a committee to be able to receive the various entries made by residents and, be able to establish a criteria to actually award and identify some award winners for each of the various floors. I think it was floors 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And they gave out, in some cases, first and recognized folks as first and second and third place winners. After that, I provided each of those winners with a brief letter, just thanking them for their submission and recognizing them for them being a winner in on those various floors. But we also, the very next day after we did that, we also treated them to a special meal that many of them was very pleased with. Went outside, went to a restaurant outside and kind of brought some food in. And they were very pleased with that. In fact, they asked when was the next contest going to take place. So they were, very enlightening with that, and they were very appreciative of that. For about 30 minutes or so, I got a chance to sit and look at a volunteer orientation workshop that was outside in our, the front area right outside the courts here on the 3rd floor, where the program coordinator does an excellent job, bringing in people for volunteers and having, the opportunity to orientate them on just the rules of the facilities and stuff and what to expect coming in and giving them helpful information. And again, I can tell you this took place like in the like after 5 o'clock, and you had a room full of people, wanting to volunteer their time and expressing interest. So was very pleased to see that folks from the community. And I would certainly continue to encourage, those that wish to volunteer their time and services for programming to please feel free to continue to express interest. Met with the presiding judge at the court and we discussed, some matters as it relates to just what the court is looking from justice services, and then, how we can all benefit each other with respect to going forward, and also taking a look and addressing the census down the line in the future. Learned a little bit about the MacArthur Foundation and during their visit last week, and how we rely upon and get assistance from the MacArthur Foundation. Also had an opportunity to begin discussions on March 8th with our staff. For those of you that recall, that's one of the things that I said I really wanted to do, and I felt was extremely important that, we start taking the opportunity as a new management team to really sit down and not have a discussion, but listen to staff to see what their needs are, what their concerns are. And, we have these meetings scheduled between March 8th all the way up to April 26th. They've been in group form, so they've been coming in anywhere between 10 to 15 at a time. I think thus far I would say we've hosted maybe about between 6 or 7 group sessions at this time. And again, the information was very enlightening. They spoke very candidly. So, all of this is helpful information to help us in charting out what I have defined as to be our mission, vision, and guiding principles, and putting together a long-term strategic plan for the Department of Justice Services. We have worked with our HR staff, as well as most recently with the communications department with respect to our recruitment positions, because we've put out a number of positions. We've put out for corrections captain, corrections lieutenant, case managers, unit manager, cook, an accountant 3. And we're continuing to working to address other needs for possible advertisement in the future. So all of those things are, I think the last day for application on some of these positions is actually today. So April is going to be a very busy month when we're talking about interviewing. So that'll keep us pretty busy. So other than that, that's my 30-day report.
You've been busy. Questions from board members, and I think we're still working on trying to get Nina into the meeting, Ms. Riaz into the meeting. Tim, did you have any success with Nina?
Excuse me, I'm coughing here. I have been sending her emails back and forth.
Okay.
I think she's still trying.
Okay, sounds good. Did you have a question too?
I did, and it looks like Senia and Dr. Cunningham have questions too. So I don't know who you want to go on first. We can go with our newest member first. That's fine.
Perfect. Senia.
Good morning. Dr. Best, just curious, appreciate you sharing your report with respect to the staff development component of your work, but what would you say, or you've observed thus far, is one of the most challenging areas in staff development for the center?
I think with respect to staff development, I think one of the things that we certainly will need to look at working at is, first of all, defining what training overall is going to look like for justice services. And one of the things that, I've looked at it in three ways. Incoming onboarding training, the new officer training, and then also defining for in-service training, which would be two. In-service training, what does that 40-hour training that they do, what does that consist of? What is part of that 40-hour training? And then third, which is what I believe you're referring to also, would be professional development, ongoing professional development training to be able to prepare people for opportunities of advancement, but also just prepare folks, professionally themselves and being able to function in their current roles and then being able to advance forward in additional roles. I think communication is one area that we definitely need to, work on from a professional development standpoint. But I think most importantly is just getting and helping everybody understand and know their present roles, because we have a lot of new folks that are in the institution coming in serving as corrections institution, and some of them this is their first time. This is his first career opportunity that they have. So just getting them to understand their new roles first and what that entails. So, but I do think from the leadership side, we definitely have to build on the communication. And that's something that we've already talked about as a senior management team of, how we can look at getting some training in, some interpersonal skills. And when I'm saying interpersonal skills, not just, the continuous interactions with residents, but also the interactions between the supervisors and their subordinates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Cunningham?
Yes, I don't have a question. I just want to acknowledge Director Best for these last 30 days. I said this is week 2 for me returning, but I am super excited about the leadership that he brings to the jail, but then also our combined leadership to serve the residents who are at St. Louis County Jail. So I just wanted to highlight that and also recognize and thank Director Best for taking on this role, but then also just acknowledging the leader that he is. And just from multiple conversations, we have so many shared beliefs and values that I'm just excited about the changes and the possibilities that he's going to do for the jail. But then, like I said, our combined leadership for caring for St. Louis County residents. So I just wanted to highlight that. And thank you so much, Director Best, for sharing your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cunningham, and welcome back. Dr. McBride? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a coughing this morning, allergies. And welcome back, Dr. Cunningham. Great to have you back. And we got
Thank you.
a stellar leadership team, as you mentioned, with both of you in the roles. And I echo your comments about the new leadership. So, sorry. Just to sort of, we'll probably get to this with the dashboard questions as well, but Director, so, some of the comments you were making about the census, I just kind of took a peek at the dashboard, and it looks like, we do have a lot of people in the Justice Services Center, but it seems like it's stable, and I just wanted to get welcome, Nina. I'm glad you got in. And so I wanted to make that comment and see if you agree with that. It's, it seems like it's around 1,100, and it seems like that's stable relative to what we saw last month. And it's a pretty high number, and that's what I wanted to ask about is, how are we managing that relative to the capacity of the jail? And is there any sort of stresses or challenges that we're seeing with a number that is that high? I noticed that our staffing levels in terms of residents relative to staff seem okay relative to where we've been in the past. So maybe that's okay as well. So could you kind of comment on that?
Well, I think just, from my observations and just from the information that, that I've seen, in terms of whether that number is stable, I would say when you compare from where we were last month to now, yes, it hasn't ballooned over the 1,200 mark at this point, but certainly I would like for it to deflate to downward below the 1,100 mark. So certainly. Yes, is it stable where we're at? Yes, but would we like for it to come down? Yes, remember as we talked before, when in November when I was going through this process, I think the number was somewhere in the 800s. So we ballooned up. And I hope that's not because of my arrival, so to speak.
No, it's not.
1,100 and something. So. But yeah, it's stable, but we certainly want to bring it down. And again, as I say, it is my hope and my vision, my focus, because I do believe that reentry starts at the time of arrest. My point would be, that we are looking at these cases, and I can tell you over the last month or so that I have continued to work with the deputy directors and specifically our folks in community corrections to make sure that they are looking at the bond reports that Aaron provides us diligently about every 2 weeks, I believe it is, and that they are looking to see, are there cases there where we should be looking at for possible reconsiderations to try to approach to, see about what's going on with potential bond, what's going on with potential release to pretrial services, things of that nature. I can tell you that, me joining the deputy directors and the majors and the superintendent on these tours, has been very helpful because then we've had instances where residents will come up and residents will say, hey, I went to court and this happened and that happened. And, you have the correction staff that are listening in, those superiors, and there's been multiple instances where they take that information down and they go and they look at the records and see what the resident is presenting to them. Is it factual? And in most cases, they found that it has been factual. So then they would literally do whatever they needed to do to make sure that they could help in facilitating that release. In some cases, it's just because a family member needs to come down and sign the person out, and they just haven't been able to get a hold of the family member. So, I can tell you, we have a very diligent correction staff that is also working hard to where there's light, that they can move on to be able to get people out. Then that's what they're doing. And I've seen that firsthand with my own eyes. In terms of stressors, I think it's always going to be some degree of stressors because again we still are in that hiring mode that we want to be able to bring in and increase our numbers where staffing is concerned. You still have challenges where some folks may be out off of work, a call in or two for whatever reasons. And then you have to fill those gaps during that time frame. And then obviously, we have, where people are working overtime, and, keep in mind, it's already stress enough for working a 12-hour shift. And then when they come in and doing overtime and they're doing overtime for 4 hours, that's a long time. And I have my reservations with that, so to me, that's stressful enough. So we want to continue to try to work on, how to build that to help our officers because, folks that are working overtime and work 16 hours a day, that only give you 8 hours left with your family. So, to me, I think that is definitely a work in progress and stuff that we want to take a look at. So, I think the more we can continue to hire and bring on board quality staff that can help, I think that will lessen the stress, so to speak, for many, but of course there will always be other things that we would then need to look at and address.
Thanks for your responsiveness. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And welcome, Nina. Glad you could get on. So sorry about the technical issues.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the director? Okay, let's go ahead and move on then to our overview of the dashboard. Aaron.
Okay. All right. So there were just a few things I wanted to share this month. We haven't had a whole lot of major changes. Just to reiterate what Director Best said, our population as of this morning was 1111 for the core jail cells, plus we had 29 in intake, so it totaled to 1140 if you counted them. The daily population historical log doesn't count the people in intake, but it's still good to know the overall total. So there's that. I wanted to go over use of force real quickly. Fortunately, we returned to a more normal number this month after a really oddly high peak last month. As you can see, we were at 55.27 per 1,000 residents, which is a little bit high compared to average, but still well within the realm of normal, as opposed to last month, which was just weirdly really high. Most of these incidents are still restraint chairs, although we did have a slightly high number of pepper spray incidents. It was, I think, 13, which comes out to 11.59 per 1,000.
Aaron, do you know what the average is for that, just off the top of your head?
What the average is for
the use of force for 1,000?
It can take me about 10 seconds and I can pull it up. So it looks like if I just do a
40
total per 1,000 average over the past 4.5 years, it's 36.5.
Okay. Yeah.
Looks like in the past 14 months, it's a little higher, 42. So
yeah.
This month was a little higher than average, but it was definitely back to the realm of normal.
Yeah. Back then a standard deviation, I would say. So.
Yeah. And I think the only other thing I wanted to mention was that we're still doing well on resident to corrections officer ratio, even with a population over 1,100. Our resident to CO ratio has dropped below 6:1, and that's because we've been so strong on staffing lately. I also want to, excuse me, I also want to reiterate that when you look at the open positions here, 2 months ago, our number of open positions jumped up about 20 people. But this is not because we lost 20 people, rather it's because we added 16 billets. So the addition of potential additional staff here is not contributing to an increase in the resident to corrections officer ratio, because it's on the openings and or on the it's in terms of added potential jobs as opposed to losing COs, if that makes sense. I think that was really it in terms of the substantial changes that I found this month. But I'll open up the floor for questions if anybody has any.
Aaron, if we can go back though to the use of force piece,
Sure.
I do want Nate, you could comment on just the restraint chair so that everybody can have an understanding with the restraint chair issue.
Yes, no problem. So with the restraint chair, we have residents that volunteered to go to the restraint chair. That's the difference in the restraint chair. You have people that go to the restraint chair for, incidents of fighting or use of force or something like that. But the difference is when people volunteer because they feel like they need to go sit in the restraint chair to protect themselves, stuff like that. So I would like
from self-harm.
Self-harm, yes, from self-harm. So I would like Aaron can you give us the difference on that, Aaron?
Not this month, I don't have that data, but that's definitely something we should look into, is splitting the restraint chair between voluntary and involuntary ones.
Yeah.
And you capture that data then?
Not now. That's what I've asked this morning.
Right. We don't have that this minute, but it's something we'll look into this month. for sure.
Yeah, since we saw that the restraint chair number was high, and I've asked, you know, about that, so we're going to start trying to capture that data so that we can decipher between the two, voluntary versus involuntary.
So just along those lines, just for my own education.
Mhm.
So when someone volunteers to go into the restraint chair, is it usually they're wanting to do self-harm, and that's why or is there's an incident and then you go and talk to them, or how does that all start happening?
Well, what happened is usually if they say something to the lieutenant and the lieutenant contact mental health,
I see.
and then mental health will say, okay, just, you could go ahead and bring them out and they'll set them in the restraint chair till the mental health come up and talk to them.
I got you.
And then they'll talk to them and see, you know what they said.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay, very good. Okay.
I have a question about that. More so, not really a question, but every time this topic of restraint chair come up, I just wonder if there is a different, more equitable way to approach this now with modern, I mean, either on the medical side or if there's improved practices on the correctional side. I mean, just the harms that can potentially happen after someone is in a restraint chair, and I'm speaking to the mental harms. That's the proper concern about. So I'm going to task my team, the correctional medicine team, to look at best practices when it comes to that, and not us overutilizing a restraint chair, because it does kind of make me a little concerned with that. So I just want to put that out there. And Director Best, I hope you're okay with that, and I can follow up with you to see what we learned on our end about how best to approach individuals that you all are discussing and describing here.
No, I'm fine with that. We can talk about that more as well.
And also, Dr. Cunningham, they actually just sitting there in the restraint chair, and so they're not restrained with, with their hands or anything like that. I think they put like a strap around their waist, so it's not like they restrained totally with their hands and everything.
Right. No, I appreciate that. I still want the team to look to make sure that, that we're not continuing outdated practices. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cunningham. Dr. McBride?
If we're done with that, I think that was a good discussion on the restraint chair. I was wondering that as well. Back on the census, Aaron, you do, and frankly, I always want to compliment you on this dashboard. It's fascinating. I just did some quick calculations looking at, if you could scroll down to the charge status categories. And I did some just real quick calculations. I got it online, and I was looking at February 24 versus February 2023. And I compared it in just sort of the increase, and just some quick numbers, and there'll be too many numbers to cite out, but we had an increase of 234 from the 877 that, the director was citing. We were in the 800s to 1111. And of that 234, the increase was 180 in pretrial and 43 in probation, 13 in sentenced, and 8 in other. So, it's increasing in all the categories, but when I looked at that in percentage terms, the one that increased the most was probation. It's increased by 54%.
So this is actually a methodological change partially. So
okay.
About, it was October, I believe. So 5 months ago, we changed the definition of this category probation violation to also include parole violations. And though parole violations are a lot less prominent than probation violations, the addition of the parole violations at any one given time might have put another 20 to 30 people into that category that would have prior to that been in the blue category. So, or would have been in the blue category if they weren't sentenced, at least I'll put it that way. And so, so if you were to take out, I mean, I don't have an exact number on how many of them are parole violations today, but if you were to take out the people who are parole violations and put them back into the big pretrial category, I doubt that you would see the disproportionate increase that you see there.
Okay, then it would sort of even out.
Yep.
Generally, we're having roughly the same increase of 20 5 to 30% in all these categories.
Yes, that is true. However, I will say this. If you look, the blue bars here are
Yeah.
essentially the bottom right graph here is a zoom in on the blue bars here. So if you look at if you look at this blue bar here for last month, our pretrial average was 916. And so you go here, you'll see 916 there, and you can see how it's broken down. One thing that really has changed is if you look at about a year and a half ago, if you look at the what's changed in terms of the people who are on pretrial, and you look at the height of the high level felony bars, which are the A and B, it actually hasn't changed all that much. I mean, it's gone up slightly, but it hasn't gone up substantially. What has gone up a lot is the combined low-level felony and misdemeanor bars, which, you know, a year and a half ago were relatively small and now are really, you know, make up a substantial portion of the jail. So I will note that, though, in terms of these categories, retrial has probably gone up at about the same rate as other and probation violation and sentenced, accounting for that issue we just talked about with the parole violations. That is true, but within the pretrial category, the rate at which the different felony classes have gone up is vastly different.
And is that those A and B you were telling us about last
Right,
time?
so the A and B felonies have only increased moderately. The low-level felonies, C, D, and E felonies have increased substantially.
And those were those gun violation things?
Well, I mean, they can be anything. I mean, lots. C, D, and E felonies are the less severe half of the felony distribution, but there are guns are common, drugs are common, but there are lots of things that fall into those categories.
Oh, that's very helpful.
Yeah,
Thank
so I mean, I think on a percentage basis, if you look at the brown and green bars here, if you look at these and you look at the percentage that they've gone up over the past year and a half, it's, you know, moderate but not really huge. Whereas if you look at the combined height of the rest of the bars, which is the lower level stuff, the combined height of the rest of the bars has gone up a lot.
And so the A and B, sorry, I'm not a criminologist, but the A and Bs are probably very violent and
Murder,
crimes.
first degree robbery,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah.
And I'm partly saying this out loud for the public, but so yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Aaron on this dashboard before we move on to the health dashboard? Okay, great. Go ahead,
I saw
Aaron.
that Katie is on the Katie was on the call today. Were you wanting to present the health dashboard, Katie?
Put me on the spot, Aaron. No, I don't want to step on your toes.
Sorry, no, you're okay. I saw you were in the call and I wanted to give you the chance to present if you wanted to.
No, I appreciate that. I'm happy to tune in if there are questions that I can answer.
Okay. Well, here's the public health dashboard. I think the main thing, I noticed one big change or not big change, but something that really popped out this month. And that was if you look at the percentage of provider visits for substance use disorders, you'll see that though this total percentage, the bar height isn't really changing that much, the fraction of it that is taken up by opioid disorders as opposed to non-opioid disorders just keeps getting higher and higher. Like 2 years ago, these bars looked like they were about half and half, yellow and red. And now this one, as of this month, looks like it's about 90% opioid. And that definitely looks like it's been a gradual trend. You can see the yellow bars getting to be bigger as an overall proportion of the total, and the red bars continuing to get smaller.
Yeah, that's tripled since 2022. Pretty much, yeah.
We've definitely increased our access to our MAT services and treatment. So to me, I'm glad that we're doing a great job of being able to screen and detect and get individuals connected to care and treatment.
I just bring that up because that was the only substantial change that I noticed this month.
And the all other, Aaron, that would be like methamphetamines and alcohol.
I'd probably ask Dr. Cunningham or Katie about that.
I believe so, but I'll have to confirm. And
Okay.
cocaine as well.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Dr. Or Aaron and Dr. Cunningham, could you speak to could you put up the open positions? It looks like that's falling, and I know we always want to look at the open positions, and I apologize, Dr. Cunningham, I know you're just back, and I don't know how long you've been back, but do you want to comment on how we're doing in terms of staffing?
Yeah, this is week 2 for me.
Okay, sorry, apologies.
No, that's okay. I mean, just to be honest, and this is not unique to the healthcare setting at the jail. I mean, it's right now it's difficult to really recruit and retain healthcare professionals, whether it's nurses, medical assistants. Right now, we are about 70% agency, 30% DPH employees. And again, I'm continuing to push till we can reverse that trend. But it's just one of the difficulties that we are experiencing, but it's not unusual given the healthcare setting what's taking place in the region, but also for the country right now. So we're continuing to participate in any type of career fairs that take place, word of mouth. So again, we're trying our best to recruit, but that significant drop, I can find out additionally what could have taken place. But overall, we are struggling a little bit at the jail. So hopefully with the summertime coming, graduations coming up, and our intentional recruitment efforts, hopefully we'll be able to continue to recruit some good talent at the jail.
Thank you. I certainly, and I know Dr. Garza's well aware of the, this workforce challenges in the entire region and the country. So we would understand that as well.
Thank you.
So and maybe this is not a relevant question, but and you can say it's not if you want, but I serve on the board of health for the city, and they've recently taken over the health for the jail in the city. Is there any dialogue between you and the cities?
Yeah, so Dr. Mahdi is a good friend of mine, and
I know she is, and I appreciate that. She's a good friend of all of ours. And
yes. So we have, before I left on maternity leave, this is one of our priorities since she has taken over or will have oversight of the healthcare at the city jail. We do want to put out regional expectations or standards of care for correctional medicine. So that is something that her and I have been discussing. And then, like I said, I went out on maternity leave, so it's a priority. So her and I have to meet up, but we are looking forward to working together the best of chance to make sure anybody who enters a St. Louis City or St. Louis County jail will have access to quality and equitable health care. So yes, that is a focus of ours, and we will continue to work closely with Dr. Mahdi and her team in the city.
well, I applaud those efforts because, as I often say, public health does not end at Skinker Boulevard. So
I agree. I completely agree.
Thank you.
It ends at the river, right, Dr. McBride?
There you go. Not even there. So I guess,
Great. Are there other graphs we wanted to look at there, Aaron, or really anybody from the public health team?
I don't have anything else of note to share, but I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Are these all the tiles, Aaron, or is
well, there's the ones here, but this one's just basically like,
I got you.
Yeah, this is just looking at like
Very specific
of people, right? Yep.
Could you go back to the medical dashboard just really briefly? Okay, great. Can you just click really quickly? Percentage of persons with psych visit on clinic infirmaries, bottom row. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Seemed like those numbers had increased significantly over the past quarter or so.
And they're down again.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I'm glad people are getting services, so that's it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's probably a reflection of the population as well. Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions from any of the board members? Ms. Rios?
Thank you. Yes, I was wondering, last month I had asked about how you were defining provider in some of those tiles, and I was wondering if you made any progress on that question.
I don't remember being asked this question personally. I'm sorry. Did you ask somebody from public health?
No, I just wondered how we defined provider in the tiles last month, whether it included nurse practitioners or social workers or.
I think I do. I think I do remember you asking that now that you say that, but I don't know the data on that because I don't really do much with this data other than share it. So I would have to pass that over to somebody with public health. I mean, Dr. Cunningham or Katie or anybody else is welcome to chime in.
So Nina, are you being specific about the entire clinic, or were you more interested in the behavioral health side component?
The behavioral health.
Okay. Dr. Cunningham, do you know what the mix of providers is for that?
Right. We do have nurse practitioners, and we also have a psychiatrist as well to make up those visits. So when we say provider on the clinical side, we're talking about the NPs, PAs, as well as the MDs. We do have social workers there as well, but with this here, with the clinic visits, it's specifically our behavioral health team, again, which consists of a psychiatrist as well as a psychiatric NP.
Okay, thank you. And then a related question, I was wondering if there was any data on social worker contact visits with the residents.
I wouldn't have that. I think, Aaron, I don't know if you can get that. I'm not sure how we can get that information, but I know I don't have that. And Aaron, I don't know if you track that.
Social worker contact information. I don't know. I only have what I get is passed on to me on the week of, because I make the dashboard and I present this data, but when it comes to the public health data, I don't really actually get into it very much. So I don't know.
Nina, are you asking about social work contact with the overall population then, or specific to this clinic?
Both, actually.
Both. Okay.
You know, I don't think we track that. I just saw Ava there, but yet I don't think we track that. I can talk to Ava offline with that, but I will say that specifically those with mental health and substance use disorders, I know that they are seen either by a social worker and or a community health worker as well, but I don't believe we track that specific data with contact.
Okay, thank you, because this data is so thorough, but that particular aspect, the social worker contacts, that just seems to be missing from the overall picture.
Can I add something?
Sure. Yes, go ahead.
We can work on pulling the data.
Okay.
Our social worker.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Dr. Cunningham, you may not have seen it, but Katie Bellis had typed in that she would be able to pull that data.
We can work.
So I think at the next meeting,
Okay.
we could present some of that data.
Perfect. And I'll also say, Katie, can you also look at community health worker too? So I think contact work for both of those would be helpful to really kind of maybe paint an overall picture for the contact hours.
Now we can display, we can pull those numbers and we can talk about them when we have our next meeting. Are these things that people are interested in knowing, like on a one-time or kind of occasional basis, or on a regular basis to actually have a separate dashboard window for? Because redesigning the dashboard is definitely an extra step on top of that.
Right. So this is what I would suggest. Let's bring the data to the next meeting, and then we can further refine what it should look like and whether we need to build another tile or something else. Sound good?
Yep.
Sound good, Nina?
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, other questions for Aaron or the public health team? Okay, great. All right, so At this point in the meeting, I'd like the board to consider a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021, 1 and 12 revised statutes of Missouri, and section 114.020.1, 1 and 12 St. Louis County revised ordinance. Can I get a motion?
I'll
So
move.
moved.
Thank you, Dr. McGuire. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bozeman. I think we have to have a by name roll call vote.
Dr. Garza,
Yes.
Ms. Riaz,
Yes.
Dr. McBride,
Yes.
Dr. Cunningham,
Yes.
Ms. Bozeman,
Yes.
Dr. McGuire.
Yes.
Great. We will now be in closed sessions. And Ray, you can let me know when we're good to go.
We don't need to leave, right? We just stay here.
Correct.
I'll walk down and make sure that,
That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, so everybody stand by. We're just going to double check, make sure that all the WebEx issues are taken care of.
this would just be the,
Yeah,
just need to remove the public access.
Yeah, so you need to pick up just. I can do that. Yeah, but then we'll come out of closed session.
Right, and we'll
Okay.
know like when you're ready to come out.
Okay, so are we good or?
No, we still have.
5 minutes. 5 minutes, okay. We need a couple of minutes to make sure everything is set up correctly on WebEx for board members. Take a coffee break, bio break, whatever you need.
Everyone should be back. I'm going to unmute. I didn't unmute in the conference room.
Okay, thank you, board members. So we are back in open session. Let's move to our next item on our agenda, which is to hear public comments.
There are no
Any-
public.
Okay, thank you. Our next agenda item, setting our next board meeting and discussing agenda items. And so we've had some discussion about having a reorientation or an orientation for our new board members and setting a date for that, as well as what are some things that we would like for people to discuss during that session. So my proposal is that we would pencil that in for our May board meeting. That would give us some time to think through what do we want to have as far as material for the board, develop a nice agenda, all of those different things. So the things off the top of my head, and I think I circulated this to the board members, were going over, I think, just a general overview of justice services, especially for the new members, and some of the different programs that are in place at Justice Services. I think a refresher on Sunshine Law and what's the expectations are for meetings, things like that. But I'd also open that up to what other issues or items that our board members would want to hear about as well. And we don't have to define the agenda today, but if you could get me whatever you would like to hear, whether it's a presentation about mental health services or whatever, that would help us better shape the agenda. And then I think we should, as I said, in person, and then we could also schedule a tour of the justice services so that you can meet the people that are performing, the mission here day in and day out, get to understand how the operations flow, all of those other things. So how does that sound to everybody on the board?
Sounds fine to me.
Yes, it sounds great to me as well.
Great, thank you. Nina, how does that sound to you?
That sounds wonderful.
And it's a May timeframe, okay with everybody. So we typically are the third Friday of the month. And so I don't know what day that is, but just check everybody's calendars to make sure you're not, planning family vacations or things like that. Tim, sounds good to you as well?
Oh, no, I'm going to cause all sorts of trouble. I'm just kidding. So I was just wondering, do we have any bylaws or things that govern our board?
Yes, we do.
So I think we might want to, make sure we go through those.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And, in terms of what our expectations are, I think we talked about those. You and I have been on this board for so long.
Right.
I think early on when the board was reconstituted, we
Right.
talked about this in terms of expectations. And I don't even know if I don't assume there's term limits, but people say
There are.
Are there?
There are, yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, you're on your second term. Yeah.
Oh, am I really? Oh, okay. So
I believe you are. I'll have to look, but yes.
Yeah, so that would be definitely something to look over as well. So
See, now that I say that, Tim, I'm gonna have to look up in the bylaws here and make sure I'm not lying to you. But be that as it may, there is a requirement in the bylaws for us to review the bylaws annually. So your comment is spot on. That
Yeah.
we should take a look at this, and that would fulfill one of our requirements as a committee. So
see how brilliant I am to bring that up.
I know you didn't even know.
So, and with our new members, it would be a good idea to review all that.
Yes, I think so. And I also think at that meeting, we can discuss as well, how we want these regularly scheduled meetings to flow. So we've already had some discussion about, hey, I'd like to see this other information, or if there's other things that we would like to see in our regular meetings. So think about that. And then the other piece I would put out there is during that meeting, let's discuss as well about our meeting cadence. So right now we meet every month, which is, I'll say it's a little burdensome for both myself and I think for the staff. Most boards that I'm on, it's usually a quarterly meeting. I do think that there's value though for us to continue this pace up until May, especially for our newer board members, just so that they can become more familiar with the topics that are discussed, understand the issues, and then at that May board meeting, we can discuss, do we still want to continue on with this monthly cadence? And then we can go from there.
Okay.
Dr. Garza, I just want to confirm the orientation. What date are we proposing for that?
Yes, ma'am. Let me look.
Did you say May?
Correct. And it's typically the third Friday of the month. And so that would put us at
May 17th?
The fourth Friday. I think it's the fourth.
Oh,
Third
sorry.
or fourth? Oh, so it's fourth. Okay.
It's the fourth Friday. I apologize. May 24th.
Okay.
Okay.
And then will those still be an April meeting?
Well, let me ask the board, do we want to have an April meeting or do we want to pass on an April meeting?
I would propose, for me, if we could pass on the April, there's a lot of content for the May, for the orientation. And I would think that there's going to need to be some work on behalf of the staff and Director Bass to prepare for that. So I would propose, just, skipping the April and move to May for our next meeting. Just my thoughts.
Yep. Thank you, Steve. Other thoughts?
I'm okay with that.
I guess I should say any opposition to it. Okay, I certainly do not. And I think you bring up some good points that it would allow the staff then to that time and space to come up with some good material for our May meeting. So if everybody's okay with that, we'll go ahead and cancel our April meeting, and we'll plan on an in-person board meeting here at the Justice Center in May. I already forgot what date it was. May 24th. Is that right? May 24th. And we'll make sure that now Ray's sending me a note that says May 27th is Memorial Day.
May 24th.
So that's more
Yeah,
than
but-
weekend.
Yeah, but typically people will take that Friday off.
Okay,
That's I think why he said that.
okay.
Well, that does put a wrinkle into things. So, because people typically will take that Friday off for the long weekend. And I think it's okay if we want to push it even to June for the orientation. There's nothing time critical that needs to happen here.
I will be out in June. I will be in Guatemala for the last 2 weeks in June.
No,
Here we go.
we can't have the board meeting in June, Dr. Monk. In Guatemala, sorry.
I'm okay with that.
So in the essence of time, I wouldn't mind going to Guatemala. I'm good with that. But with the 17th work, we go back to that for May.
I think we can certainly change the date.
May
There's a notice.
I'm turning to our county folks here to make sure like I'm not screwing anything up legally.
And I'll be at graduation on May 17th. That's pre-commencement, so I'll be busy all day.
Okay.
I can't make that either.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
I'm
This is going to
personally doing it the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, but if other people are planning on being out of town, I totally understand that.
I'm okay with it too, but it may be a issue for the staff at the JSB. I don't know.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's pencil in the original date, May 24th, and then we'll, in the background, we'll do some work and see if this is going to be an issue. And then I can connect with all of the board members as well to see if there's going to be any conflict with any travel plans, things like that. And if there is, we'll work towards another date. So like I said, there's nothing mission critical here. This is really for education for the board, for the new board members. And so there's nothing that we absolutely have to have within a certain time frame. Okay.
Dr. Kurz, I'm sorry, just one more. So are we looking at the same time frame in terms of the
Correct.
start? Yeah.
Right. So what I would propose then is that we expand the time. So I would still start at 9 o'clock, maybe expand it by an hour. So I think right now we have blocked from 9 to 11. Is that 9 to 12? Actually, I think that block is fine from 9 to 12.
Okay.
If you're like me, you get a little bit antsy after a couple of hours anyway. So, maybe a couple of hours of briefings and understanding, all of the different topics that we need to, maybe an hour for tours and meet and greets, and then we could call it a day. Does that sound all right?
Dr. Kurz?
Yes.
I would caution, if we have a quorum,
Yes.
it's considered a public meeting and we need to give notice and open it to the public. So if we're all going on a tour together, I don't know how that would work.
Okay.
We may have to do shifts.
2 shifts. Okay.
But I can look at
We can do shifts.
How many people does it take to be a public meeting?
I think we would need 4 on this board. A quorum is 4.
Because I've been on like 3 tours, so I mean, I love the tours; they're fascinating. But I'm
As
not
an
sure.
individual, Tim, though, or as the board? I can't remember. I think we did one as a board before.
Yeah, I've been on them probably as an individual or in a small group. So I'm just saying I don't need to do a tour again. So if that would help any.
Okay. We can get that figured out. So,
Yeah.
okay. So I think we've landed on, let's keep May 24th, keep the time slot. I'll get together with Director Bass and the staff. We can craft an agenda. In the meantime, send whatever items to myself. If there's anything in particular you would like to see on the agenda, we'll circulate a draft around to make sure that we're capturing everything that we want to convey during that meeting. And we'll go from there. And then we'll take the April block of time off of everybody's calendars. Okay. Seeing some head nods, always a good thing. Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, we're at our final agenda item, adjournment. Everybody's favorite. Guys are ready to make the motion on this one.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Dr. McGuire, second. All in favor? Aye.
Hi. Hi.
All right, great. Well, thank you all for another wonderful meeting. Good seeing everybody again, and we will see you all in May. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
You
You too. Thank you.